So-Called is sponsored by loveboiseparks.org, which donates profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at loveboiseparks.org.
Knowing why you do something is what really is going to drive you through those most difficult times, because no matter what path you choose, there will be times when it doesn't feel worth it. Remember why you're doing what you're doing, and it'll be your compass.
This is Mark Wojcik, and I'm wondering, how's your so-called career? Welcome to So-Called, the podcast that explores the why and how of work. On today's episode, we meet Luke Malek, lawyer and co-owner of Smith Malek. In his practice, Luke works in the healthcare realm, focusing on governance and compliance. When we met, I asked Luke what this work entails.
So I work with organizations that have issues around, if they have a board, working with that, or if they have executive issues, helping them create policies that are in line with whatever federal or state regulations that they need to be in line with.
So how did you get into that, in that realm of law, into the healthcare aspect of it?
I fell into healthcare prior to even going to law school, actually, because both my parents were physicians, and so developed a passion for healthcare. They were really hoping that I would go to medical school. So you can imagine how excited they were when they found out that I was going to law school.
Okay. Yeah. So a long, deep family connection then in the medical field then.
Yeah, absolutely. And my mom worked for a free clinic when we were in North Idaho, up in Coeur d'Alene, when I was a kid. And that organization developed into a nonprofit.
The nonprofit clinic was designated as a federally qualified health center. Around this time, Luke began his professional affiliation with the clinic.
That was about the time I graduated from college, so I went on as their public relations person right out of college.
After going to law school, Luke maintained his connection with the clinic, which is now a client of his firm.
They're one of the clients that we have and love working with them. But that organization's been kind of the root of my understanding of healthcare law, particularly when it comes to federally qualified health centers.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that would give you some insight in having known how the operation is working. That gives you some valuable insight into your law practice.
Yeah, my law practice, and I served in the legislature for 6 years and grew quite a passion for healthcare policy because federally qualified health centers specifically are really good at serving broad base of people from various income levels and doing it well, and have really kind of become the backbone of the primary care delivery system in the country. And I love working with them. I feel like I'm changing the world when I'm working with them, and it's a good fit for our law firm as well.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask you, what do you like about that? So that maybe that's it right there.
Yeah, so healthcare has been in crisis in our country for a long time, and in my opinion, health centers do it right, and it's one of the programs that the government has gotten right and done a really good job of promoting, because they have so much local control. These health centers all have a board, and 51% have to be users of the clinic, so they are consumers of the healthcare product that is being offered in there. And like I said, they serve a broad base. No one gets denied services because of their income level. So I'm a patient of health centers, and really it's blind to income, and it's just high quality healthcare. And the neat thing about that is there are systems that have been built so that they can provide that high quality care and keep people out of the hospital systems. And really, I think they've been key in helping stem some of the more drastic parts of our healthcare crisis and keeping people healthy rather than shipping them into the emergency rooms and hospital settings.
What about, are there any things that you find difficult or challenging about the work in terms of, we talked earlier about do what you love.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you want to do as much as you can of what you love, but that there's also trade-offs. Sometimes there's things that you don't love as much. Is there anything like that?
Yeah. With anything in life, right? It's work. Like, it doesn't all get to be fun every single day. And yeah, there are very, very tedious parts. I can tell you, in working with health centers, there's the reporting to the federal government, which is a very, very tedious process, and
Yeah.
staying in compliance with the grant programs that they have there. So working with health centers on that can be really tedious. And then, on the business side, personally with the law firm, there are obviously what I do with the team that we have here at Smith and Malek. Very, very proud of what we've done, but there are also extremely tedious parts of that. So wouldn't trade it for the world, but I don't love coming to work every day just because there are days where you have to buckle down and do the stuff that is necessary and not the high level fun stuff. So.
I asked Luke about his work in the Idaho legislature, which came during a hectic time in his life.
Well, I can tell you that on the politics side of thing, when I was serving in the legislature, that was like a whole nother career. That was a very exciting time, but also a very stressful time in life, because it was representing a district in the northern part of Idaho, and then down in Boise for the legislature, having started a new business with a new business partner, and keeping that running while serving the people of northern Idaho. It was a very stressful time. So yeah, I don't know if it was a stop along the way, but it was definitely a period of time where I was pulled in a lot of different directions, and wasn't a lot of time to enjoy. I love Idaho, so there just wasn't a lot of time to enjoy the place that I love. So we're still really busy with work, but the fact that politics isn't in our life right now has helped us really enjoy life a little bit more. So. And I should say, sorry to interrupt, but I wouldn't trade that for the world. I loved what I was able to do in politics and would love to get back into it at some point in time. But yeah, there are seasons in life for sure.
So, you mentioned in politics, how did you come to get into that? How did that opportunity arise and spark your interest?
Yeah, well, it was actually politics that sparked my interest in going to law school, because I was, I think it was definitely my parents and my grandparents that influenced me in that direction. So it was a lot of dinner conversations about what justice is in the world and what our obligation is. We have a lot of blessings in this country, a lot of blessings in life, and what is our obligation to give back. My mom's dad was a Marine, and that was always a source of a lot of conversation in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up and watching my parents struggle with the healthcare crisis as physicians, and huge changes that were happening during the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s with healthcare, and the injustice of the way the system was set up then, with so many people falling through the cracks without health insurance and really without any way to get any sort of healthcare, really sparked an interest in justice from that perspective. And so I really felt as though I had something to give, and never joined the military. I've got two brothers in the military though, and I always kind of felt that was a little bit of a hole in my resume, but it's also driven me to be more dedicated to public service. And that's something that, like I said, drove me to law school, drove me to run for the legislature, and right now drives me with the firm, the work that we're doing at the firm, and the clients that we choose. We have our mission at the law firm is that we built this firm so that we can change the world for the better. And so that is what we do. And we do that by practicing law, but we run everything we do through that lens. Are we changing the world, and are we making it better by doing that?
The lens or the point of view that you come at it with, more businesses might benefit from taking that kind of an approach.
Yeah.
Overarching, why are we here?
I can tell you that why we are here is what gets us out of bed in the morning. I mean, particularly on those days, we were talking a little bit earlier about the drudgery of it all,
yeah.
But knowing that we're building something that we believe in, and that we feel will have a legacy beyond our time involved in it, and that it's going to be a positive legacy, is something that gets us out of bed and makes us have the hard conversations and do the hard work and make the hard decisions that have to be made when you're a business owner. So, and
getting some kind of growth or progress, often there's a little bit of friction involved in that. So
absolutely. And if you don't know why you need to climb that mountain, you have no incentive to climb it. So sometimes you just look, you think you've made it to the top, and you come over the crest, and there's just more rock that you have to climb.
the next part to climb, yeah. Well, actually, I guess now speaking of the next parts to climb, and you mentioned seasons, different seasons of life. What are there any big things or next things that you're thinking about or working on? Anything that you say, kind of think, well, maybe next I might do?
Yeah. So right now our firm is in a position where we are expanding down in Boise, and that's going really well. But we're also looking over at the Spokane market, and we, along with a lot of other businesses, right, had to kind of take a pause and understand what the new world looks like now that the pandemic has changed the nature of work. And so that's caused us to, we always try to be introspective, but like a lot of different businesses, trying to assess, are we a virtual firm, or are we a brick and mortar firm, or do we have to make that choice? And what does it mean for our growth, and what does it mean for recruiting lawyers? And obviously we service businesses, so we got to make sure that the businesses that we're pursuing are going to survive as well before we overextend ourselves in that growth. So that's where we're looking now. And I think for us, it's going to create some really unique opportunities, because we have brick and mortar, but we work virtually everywhere. We had a client come in the other day, said, "Hey, it's really interesting. We live in Priest River, and I've chose your firm because you have an office in Sandpoint, and I've been mostly dealing with your legal assistant down in Boise, and that's not a problem. It's just interesting how it all works so seamlessly for me, right?" And so they were impressed with the way that we were able to pull together as a team, and we really have. We have a lawyer working in Mackey right now from her family ranch, and we've got a lawyer that never came off of maternity leave, hasn't been back in the office since she went on maternity leave in December, but is fully integrated back into the firm. So it's really interesting. It's making us challenge our thoughts about our requirements to have people in the office. And brick and mortar has been a huge part of our culture, but maybe it doesn't need to be as central as we thought it was in the first place. So those are the interesting questions we're facing right now.
This situation right now is forcing people to think about it a little bit more deeply, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it is you question those assumptions. You assume that, really people should be in the office, unless, we had assumed anyway, they can prove that they can work outside of the office. Well, if we're hiring well, they should be able to work from wherever is best for them, right? And do well for the firm. And that's really proven out to be true. Some of our lawyers are coming back into the office because they work best there, and some feel they work really well at home. And by all accounts, they are. So it's providing that flexibility has actually been a positive for our firm. So going back to your question, which is what do we have next in the hopper? I think we're evaluating what opportunities this potential new definition of workplace has for us. And so we're in the evaluation period.
What advice would you give your younger self as it pertains to career?
That's a really fascinating question, and it's actually one that comes up quite a bit because of both politics and the law firm and the connections I have to the institutions that I went to, like the College of Idaho and the University of Idaho. I kind of recognize myself in some of the people that come across my path, right? And obviously they're looking for advice. So it's a little more than a hypothetical, really, because I do find myself in that position of saying, okay, so what advice should I give this young person? And knowing why you do something is obviously the most important thing, in my opinion. So, like I said, it's the why that gets us out of bed in the morning for the firm. It was why I was a state representative that got me out of bed early in the morning for those JFAC meetings, right? That started at 7 a.m. And so knowing why you do something is what really is going to drive you through those most difficult times. Because as we said when we first started talking, no matter what path you choose, there will be times when it doesn't feel worth it. And if you're not clear on why you're doing something, you can lose your direction really quickly. For me, it was I wanted to make a positive impact on the world, and I have a skill set that fortunately allows me to pursue that. And I can't speak to what drives other people, but being in touch with that yourself is the most important thing to find. So I can look back and see the times where I lost sight of why I was doing what I was doing, and those are the times that are probably the most difficult in my life. And so if I were to give that advice to myself, it would be, focus and remember why you're doing what you're doing, and it'll be your compass. So
like you said, it's something that only each person has to answer for themselves.
There is no easy button in life, and I say that to my partner, my wife, and my business partner all the time. It just feels like we could just get a break and have things go our way easy for once. But really, there is no such thing as easy if you're doing things the right way.
Yeah.
If you're going to take control and know why you're doing something, you've got to do it the right way, and it's never easy.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, it's that you get to what looks like the top of that mountain, and then there's the next one.
Yeah. That analogy goes through my head on a daily basis.
So Called is sponsored by loveboiseparks.org, which donates profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at loveboiseparks.org.